We tried to warn them through official channels. They would not listen. So we warn you directly. Something is coming. Something old and hungry. The Council knows, but they chose silence over preparation. Humanity chooses to fight. When the time comes, you will have to choose as well. Choose wisely. On the Venthry homeworld, Kilos opened his chip and watched the data with growing horror. He immediately sent copies to his family, his friends, and his business associates. They sent it to others. Within hours, millions of Venthry knew the truth, the same pattern repeated across dozens of Council species. Civilians who had worked with humans, traded with them, or simply talked to them over the years. They received the data and they shared it. The Council tried to shut down the networks, but it was too late. The information had spread too far. Panic began to set in. Not everywhere, but in enough places that the Council could not ignore it. Velmuth called another emergency session. The humans have poisoned the minds of our citizens with lies and fear, he declared. We must issue an official statement denying these rumors. But Luminara stood and her light pulsed with intensity. No more lies. I have reviewed the data the humans spread. It matches our own classified readings exactly. They did not fabricate this information. They simply shared what we were hiding. You would believe human propaganda? Elder Bright demanded. I believe mathematics, Luminara shot back. And the mathematics say something large is approaching our galaxy? Something that does not match any known species or phenomena. The Council chamber descended into argument. Some wanted to admit the truth and prepare. Others insisted on maintaining the cover story. Still, others wanted to launch military action against humanity for spreading panic. While they argued, in the darkness beyond the galaxy, the ancient thing drew closer. It had no name that any living being would recognize. It had been waiting in the void between galaxies for millions of years, watching, sleeping, feeding on the energy that leaked through from real space, but now something had changed. The barrier had weakened. Just slightly, just enough. The thing that had been waiting turned its attention toward the galaxy of light and life. It began to move. And in human space, every sensor in the Sentinel network detected the movement at the same instant. Alarm sounded in the command center. Torres looked at the readings with wide eyes. Contact. Bearing 007 Mark 341. Distance, 200,000 light-years and closing. Speed is increasing. President Okafor took a deep breath. How long until it reaches the galactic rim? At current acceleration, 68 days. And how long until it reaches Council space? Torres did the calculation. 93 days if it maintains course. Okafor looked at Webb. Do we warn them again? Webb shook his head. We already gave them everything they need to prepare. What they do with that information is their choice. Our responsibility is to protect humanity. Then we proceed with the plan? We proceed. Okafor pressed her hand against a biometric scanner. Across human space, military protocols engaged. Fleets moved to defensive positions. Barrier stations increased power output. AI cores began running battle simulations at speeds that would have seemed like magic to the Council species. Humanity had spent 30 years preparing for this moment. They had built in secret, planned in silence, and waited patiently for the galaxy to realize what was coming. Now the waiting was over. The countdown had begun, and humanity stood ready to face what the Council had been too afraid to acknowledge. 50 days after humanity withdrew from the Council, the first attack came. It happened in Sector 89, the same region where research stations had vanished years ago. A Kravat patrol fleet of 12 warships was conducting a routine sweep of the area. They were heavy vessels built for combat, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Commander Bractus was reviewing supply reports when his sensors officer shouted an alert. Contact! Unknown signature emerging from dimensional space. Bractus rushed to the tactical display. What he saw made no sense. The sensors showed a tear in reality itself, as if something was pushing through from another dimension. Energy readings were off the scale. All ships to battle stations. Raise shields and charge weapons. The Kravat fleet moved into defensive formation. 12 warships turned to face the anomaly. Their weapons powered up with a hum that vibrated through the hulls. The tier in space widened. Something came through. It was not a ship. It had no clear shape or structure. It looked like living darkness, a piece of the void between stars given form and purpose. The thing was massive, easily the size of a planet. Strange lights flickered across its surface like neurons firing in an alien brain. Fire all weapons. Bractus commanded. The Kravat fleet unleashed everything. Plasma cannons, fusion missiles, particle beams. Enough destructive force to vaporize an entire fleet. The weapons struck the creature and simply vanished. The energy was absorbed as if it had hit a black hole. Then the creature responded. Tendrils of darkness lashed out faster than the Kravat ships could react. They did not physically touch the vessels. They did not need to. Where the tendrils passed, shields failed, hulls crumbled. The very atoms that made up the ships began to break apart at the molecular level. Bractus had time to send one transmission before his flagship disintegrated around him. This is Kravat Fleet 7. We are under attack by unknown hostile. It is not a ship. It is alive. All forces fall back from Sector 89. I repeat, fall back from... The transmission ended. 12 warships and their 3,000 crew members ceased to exist in less than 2 minutes. The creature that destroyed them paused as if thinking. Then it began to move deeper into the galaxy. The Council received Bractus's final message and panic erupted. Velmuth immediately ordered all military forces to converge on Sector 89 within hours. The largest fleet ever assembled by the Council was racing toward the breach, 300 ships from 6 different species. The pride of Council military might? They arrived at the coordinates where Fleet 7 had died and found nothing. No debris, no energy signatures. Just empty space? Where did it go? Admiral Krenix of the Luminari demanded. The answer came 30 minutes later when sensors detected the creature, 3 light-years away attacking a mining colony. By the time the fleet arrived, the colony was gone. 200,000 civilians simply erased from existence. This pattern continued for days. The creature would appear, destroy everything in its path, and vanish before Council forces could engage. It seemed to be testing them. Learning. In the Human Command Center on Earth, President Okafor watched the reports with a grim expression. It is moving exactly as our models predicted, Torres said. Testing defenses. Measuring response times. The Council is chasing it, but they are always too slow. How many have died so far? Okafor asked. Official numbers say 40,000. But we estimate closer to 200,000 if you count the missing colonies. Webb stood nearby studying the tactical display. The Council is fighting the wrong battle. They treat it like an enemy fleet. They try to destroy it with brute force. But you cannot destroy something that exists partially outside our dimension. Have they asked for our help? Okafor wanted to know. No, pride is a powerful thing. They would rather die than admit they need the species that abandoned them. As if summoned by those words, a priority transmission arrived. It was from Luminara. President Okafor, I am sending this on a secure channel. The Council does not know I am contacting you. We need help. This creature is unlike anything we have faced. Our weapons are useless. Our tactics fail. 40 systems have gone dark in the past week. If this continues, the Council will fall within 2 months. Okafor looked at Webb. He nodded slightly. Record a response, she told the communication officer when the channel opened. Okafor spoke carefully. Luminara, we warned the Council this was coming. We spent 30 years preparing because we saw the evidence in your own sealed files. We begged you to listen. Now you want our help after accusing us of warmongering and fear? Luminara's light flickered with shame. You are correct. We were wrong. I was wrong. I stood in that tribunal and accused you of paranoia. I am sorry. But please, innocent beings are dying. Whatever anger you feel toward the Council, they do not deserve this. You are right, Okafor agreed. They do not deserve it. Neither did the humans you threatened to disarm and control. But that is in the past. What matters now is survival. Does that mean you will help us? It means we will do what we always planned to do. Defend the galaxy, whether the Council wants our help or not. Okafor cut the transmission. She turned to her command staff. Activate Phase 2, deploy the defense grid. Across human space, hundreds of structures that had been hidden in deep space revealed themselves. They were not weapons. They were generators. Each one was the size of a small moon, and they all activated. Simultaneously, a barrier of energy began to spread from human territory. It was similar to the network the Council had been building in secret for 2 centuries, but far more advanced. The human barrier did not just detect intrusions from other dimensions. It actively prevented them. The creature that had been terrorizing Council space suddenly found its movement restricted. The tiers it created in reality began to close faster than it could widen them. For the first time since it entered the galaxy, the creature felt resistance. Lies and weapons? General Thorax from the Crumbled Dominion stood up on his platform. He had 4 arms covered in thick armor plating, and his species was known for their military strength. He pointed one massive claw at Webb. You claim to want peace, but you prepare for war? We have counted your fleets. We know about your secret factories. You are building an army while pretending to be our friends. Webb finally spoke. His voice was quiet, but it carried across the entire chamber with perfect clarity. General Thorax is correct. We have been building fleets. We have created advanced AI. We have fortified our territories. I will not deny any of these facts. A wave of shocked whispers spread through the Council members. They had expected denials or excuses. They had not expected a human to simply admit everything. Velmuth leaned forward on his platform. You confess to these crimes? I confess to these actions, Webb said carefully. But I do not agree they are crimes. The Council decides what is legal. Velmuth's mandibles clicked together in anger. Not individual species. This is the foundation of galactic law. Webb smiled slightly. It was not a friendly expression. Then perhaps the Council should follow its own laws. He made a small gesture with his hand. Suddenly, the holographic systems responded. New images appeared on the screens all around the chamber. The Council members gasped. These were classified documents? Sealed archives that no outsider should be able to access. Let me show you what we found, Webb said. The screens displayed star charts showing large sections of empty space at the galaxy's edge. Ships that had vanished without explanation. Colony worlds that had gone silent. Requests for help that were marked as denied or ignored. Sector 89, Webb continued. 17 research stations disappeared in 1 month. The Council declared it a navigation hazard and closed the sector. But you never investigated what happened to those stations or the 3,000 scientists working there. Those files are classified, Velmuth hissed. How did you access them? We are very good with computers, Webb replied simply. When humanity joined the Council, we were excited. We believed we had found friends among the stars. But then we started noticing strange things. Reports that did not match official statements. Resources being diverted to secret projects. And we started asking ourselves a question. He paused and looked directly at each Council member in turn. If the galaxy is so safe, why are you so afraid? Luminara's light flickered with agitation. We fear nothing. Your human paranoia sees threats where none exist. Really? Webb gestured again and more classified files appeared. Then explained the barrier network. 27 hidden stations consuming enough energy to power entire star systems. You told member species this energy was needed for scientific research. But these are not research stations. They are warning systems. You have been watching for something. Waiting for something. For over 200 years? General Thorax slammed his fist on his platform. This is outrageous. You hack our systems and then accuse us of conspiracy? I accuse you of nothing, Webb said calmly. I simply point out the facts. Something is out there beyond the edge of explored space. Something dangerous enough that you built a network to detect it. But instead of warning the galaxy and preparing together, you hid the truth. You kept building your secret defenses while telling everyone else that weapons were unnecessary. The screen shifted to show energy readings from deep space, strange patterns that did not match any known phenomena, signals that appeared and disappeared like something was testing the barriers. Between dimensions. Vel single quotes Moth stood from his seat. His voice was cold with authority. Even if your wild theories were true, it does not excuse your violations. You broke council law. The punishment for this is clear. Humanity will be placed under status. Your military will be dismantled under our supervision. Your eye will be destroyed. Your technology will be reviewed and limited. These are the terms. Webb was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was sad but firm. We refuse. You refuse? Velmuth could not believe what he heard. Humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council effective immediately. We are severing all diplomatic relations. All trade agreements are cancelled. Every human will leave Council space within 72 hours. You have the same time to evacuate all non-humans from our territories. The chamber exploded with noise. Every council member was shouting. Some demanded Webb's arrest. Others called for military action against Earth. The translation system struggled to keep up with the chaos. Velmuth's voice rose above the others. No species has ever left the council. This is unprecedented. It is illegal. Show me the law that forces us to stay, Webb challenged. We joined voluntarily. We leave voluntarily. This is not your decision to make. He turned to walk toward the exit. Novak and Okonkwo turned with him, moving in perfect synchronization. Stop them! General Thorax roared. Security, seal the chamber. But nothing happened. The security systems did not respond. The doors did not lock. Instead, every light in the council chamber went dark. Emergency systems failed to activate. In the sudden darkness lit only by distant stars, Webb's footsteps echoed clearly. The main portal opened smoothly, even though only council members should be able to control it. Webb paused at the threshold and looked back at the council members stumbling in the darkness. You wanted to know what humanity has really been doing for 30 years? You will find out soon enough. Consider it our parting gift. When what you have been hiding finally arrives, you will need everything we built. The three humans walked through the portal. It sealed behind them with a sound like thunder. Slowly the lights returned to the council chamber. Velmuth looked at his personal console and found a message waiting. It was written in perfect galactic standard and it was addressed to all. Council members. The message said, 71 hours until contact. We warned you. We prepared. You chose to remain blind. Now you will see what we saw. Good luck. The council members sat in stunned silence. For 8,000 years, they had ruled the galaxy without challenge. Now, for the first time, they felt something they had not experienced in millennia. They felt afraid. In the darkness beyond the galaxy's rim. Something vast and ancient opened eyes that had been closed for eons. It had been waiting, watching, and now it began to move, the human transport ship. Phoenix departed from the council chamber station exactly 3 minutes after Webb and his team left the tribunal. News of humanity's withdrawal spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within hours, every major civilization knew that humanity had done the impossible. They had walked away from the Galactic Council. On the Kravat homeworld, General Thorax paced in his war room. His military advisors surrounded him, but none dared speak. The general's forearms gestured violently as he replayed the footage from the council chamber over and over. They hacked our systems, he growled. While standing right in front of us, they took control of the entire station. How is that possible? His chief intelligence officer, a younger Kravat named Dravix, stepped forward hesitantly. Sir, we have been analyzing human technology since they joined the council. Their computer systems are based on principles we do not fully understand. They use something called quantum encryption and neural networking. Our experts say it would take centuries to crack their codes. Then how did they crack ours in just 30 years? Thorax demanded. Dravix had no answer. The silence in the room was heavy. Meanwhile, on the Luminari home dimension, the Council of Light convened an emergency session. Thousands of energy beings gathered in a space that existed partially outside normal reality. They communicated through pulses of light faster than spoken language. Elder Bright spoke to the assembly. The humans have made a grave mistake. Without council protection, they will be vulnerable to every threat in the galaxy. We should feel pity for their foolishness. But younger Luminara, who had represented their people at the tribunal, was not convinced. Did you see his eyes? Ambassador Webb was not afraid. He was confident. Humans do not bluff. If they believe they are ready to stand alone, perhaps we should ask ourselves what they know that we do not. Impossible, Elder Bright dismissed. They are children. We have existed for 40,000 years. What could they possibly teach us? Luminara dimmed her light, a sign of concern among her people. Then why did their message say we would need their gifts? What are they preparing for? No one had an answer to that either. On Earth, the mood was very different. President Sarah Okafor stood in the command center beneath the Pacific Ocean. The room was filled with holographic displays showing the position of every human ship and station in the galaxy. Hundreds of personnel worked at terminals coordinating the largest evacuation in human history. Status report, Okafor commanded. Colonel Ryan Torres pulled up the logistics display. All civilian transports are en route to human territories. We have 47,000 citizens scattered across council space. Most are scientists, traders, and diplomats. The last transport leaves in 68 hours. What about our assets? The AI cores are already secured. Project Sentinel is complete and awaiting your activation order. The barrier stations are online and synchronized. All fleet elements have reached their assigned positions. Okafor nodded. She was a tall woman with gray hair and eyes that had sea. The council chamber floated in space between 3 stars. It was made of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Inside the massive room, 12 alien species sat on high platforms looking down at the humans below. This was where the most powerful beings in the galaxy made their decisions. This was where they decided the fate of entire worlds. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood in the center of the floor. Holographic light surrounded him like invisible chains. He wore a simple black suit with no decorations. His face showed no emotion. Behind him stood 2 human soldiers. Lieutenant Kara Novak had short red hair and sharp eyes. Sergeant James Okonkwo was tall and calm. Neither carried weapons because the council had forbidden it. High Arbiter Velmuth spoke first. He looked like a giant insect with many legs and compound eyes that reflected everything around him. His voice boomed through the chamber even though he spoke quietly. Translation devices made sure everyone understood his words. Ambassador Webb, humanity stands accused of breaking galactic law. You have built weapons without permission. You created artificial intelligence that is too advanced. You placed military bases in forbidden zones. You refused to let us inspect your technology. These are serious crimes against the Galactic Council. The holographic screens around the room showed evidence. Pictures of human warships appeared. Videos of massive space stations with heavy armor and weapons. Documents about AI systems that could think faster than most organic beings. A creature made of pure light spoke next. Her name was Luminara, and she represented the oldest species in the council. Her voice sounded beautiful but cold like wind over ice. We welcomed your species 30 years ago. We shared our knowledge freely. We gave you faster-than-light travel. We taught you how to terraform dead worlds. We invited you to join the greatest civilization in history. And this is how you repay our kindness? Within too much? She had been a soldier before becoming a politician, and she understood what was coming better than most. And the gift for the council? Torres smiled grimly. Delivered in waiting. They will receive it in exactly 71 hours as promised. Ambassador Webb entered the command center still wearing his tribunal suit. He looked tired but satisfied. How did they take it? Okafor asked. About as well as expected, Webb replied. Shock, anger, disbelief. They still think we are acting out of pride or fear. Do any of them suspect the truth? A few. The Luminari representative Luminara seemed thoughtful, and I think Velmuth knows more than he admits. But the Council as a whole is paralyzed by their own bureaucracy. By the time they decide to act, it will be too late. Okafor walked to the central display. It showed a three-dimensional map of the entire galaxy. Human territory was marked in blue, a small cluster of stars near one spiral arm. Council space was marked in green and covered most of the explored galaxy. But at the edge of the map, in the space beyond known stars, there was a growing red zone. The sensors are picking up increased activity, Torres reported. Whatever is out there, it is moving faster now. They can feel it, Webb said quietly. Humanity leaving the Council was like removing a stone from a dam. The pressure is building. Will the Council survive? Okafor asked. Webb considered the question carefully. That depends on how quickly they adapt. The Council has maintained peace through law and tradition for 8,000 years. But laws mean nothing to what is coming. They need to remember how to fight. And most of them have forgotten. 3 days passed quickly. Human transport streamed back to Earth and the colony worlds. At the same time, thousands of aliens packed their belongings and left human space. It was a strange migration. Some aliens were angry, others confused. A few seemed relieved. On the trading station above Mars, a Venthari merchant named Kilos prepared to depart. His human business partner David Kim helped him load cargo containers. I am sorry it ends this way, Kilos said. His species looked like tall lizards with feathers. We had good business together. It does not have to end, David replied. When this is over, maybe we can start again? When what is over? Kilos asked. What do you humans know that you will not share? David was quiet for a moment. Then he handed Kilos a small data chip. Do not open this until you are back in Council space. And when you do, show it to people you trust. It might save lives. Kilos took the chip with his clawed hand. He wanted to ask more questions, but something in David's expression stopped him. Instead, he simply nodded and boarded his ship. Similar scenes played out across human space. Humans said goodbye to alien friends and colleagues. Some goodbyes were bitter. Many were sad. But almost every departing alien received the same thing. A data chip with instructions not to open it until they were home. On the 72nd hour, the last alien transport departed from Earth orbit. President Okafor watched it go from her command center. We are alone now, she said softly. No, Webb corrected her. Now we are free to do what needs to be done. He'd pressed a button on his console. Across human space, every ship and station received the same signal. Project Sentinel activated. In orbit around Earth and every human colony world, massive structures uncloaked themselves. They had been hidden using technology humanity had developed in secret. The structures were not weapons, not exactly. They were amplifiers, Torres explained to the staff in the command center. Every human ship, every station, every AI core is now linked into a single network. We are not separate anymore. We are one system with billions of nodes. How is that possible? Someone asked. Because we learned something the Council never understood, Webb answered. They see AI as tools, separate from organic life. We see them as partners. Our eyes are not slaves or servants. They are citizens. And together we are stronger than any single species could ever be. The display showed the network coming online. Lines of light connected every human outpost into a web of communication and computation that spanned dozens of star systems. At the same moment, in Council space, strange things began to happen. The data chips that humans had given to departing aliens activated themselves. The information they contained began to spread through civilian networks faster than the Council could block it. The chips contained the truth. Sensor readings from the edge of the galaxy. Analysis of the disappearances and strange energy signatures. Mathematical models showing what was coming. And a simple message. It turned its attention toward the source of that resistance. Toward human space. In the command center, every alarm activated at once. It is coming, Torres announced. Direct heading toward Earth, speed increasing. Estimated arrival in 4 hours. Good, Webb said calmly. Now we test whether 30 years of preparation was enough. President Okafor addressed her entire fleet. All forces, this is not a drill. The target is inbound. Execute Plan Sentinel. The human fleet was smaller than the Council's Grand Armada. Only 80 ships compared to their 300. But every human vessel had been designed with one purpose: to fight something that existed between dimensions. The ships did not carry conventional weapons. Instead, they were equipped with dimensional anchors, reality stabilizers, and quantum disruption fields. Technology that humanity had developed by studying the data from the barrier network and pushing it to new limits. The creature emerged from dimensional space at the edge of human territory. It was even larger than the reports suggested. A writhing mass of impossible geometry that hurt to look at directly. Energy crackled across its surface as it prepared to attack. The human fleet moved to intercept. They did not try to destroy it. Instead, they surrounded it and activated their dimensional anchors. The effect was immediate. The creature suddenly found itself pulled fully into normal space. Its ability to phase between dimensions was disrupted. It was vulnerable for the first time. The creature lashed out with those tendrils of darkness. They struck the human ships and the shields held. Barely, but they held. The ships had been designed to absorb dimensional attacks and redirect the energy. Reality stabilizers at maximum, the fleet commander ordered. Lock it in place? Beams of coherent energy shot from the human vessels, creating a cage of force around the creature. The beams did not damage it, but they prevented it from moving through dimensions. It was trapped. The creature thrashed violently. 2 human ships took critical damage and had to fall back. But the others held position. From the human battle carrier Defiant, Admiral Lisa Grant watched the readings carefully. It is strong but not invincible. Analysis: how long can we hold it? Her science officer ran the calculations. At current power output, approximately 37 minutes before our generators overload. Then we have 37 minutes to kill it. Activate the quantum disruptors. This was the weapon humanity had built in absolute secrecy. Not a gun or a missile. Something far stranger. The disruptors created pockets of space where the fundamental laws of physics were different, where matter and energy behaved in ways that should be impossible. The human ships fired. Reality itself seemed to ripple and bend around the creature. Its form began to destabilize. The thing that had destroyed entire fleets with ease was being unmade at the quantum level. It screamed. Not a sound that could be heard with ears. A psychic shriek that every living being in the system felt in their minds. A cry of rage and pain and hunger. The disruptors fired again. More of the creature's mass broke down into exotic particles that winked out of existence, but the creature was learning. It adapted. Its attacks became more focused. One tendril found a gap in the defensive formation and struck the destroyer Vigilant. The ship's shields collapsed. Its hull began to break apart. The crew had seconds to evacuate. Most made it to the escape pods. The ship exploded in a ball of white fire. We lost Vigilant, the communication officer reported. 73 crew members confirmed dead. Remainder evacuated. Admiral Grant felt each death like a physical blow. But she could not stop now. All remaining ships, concentrate fire. Pour everything we have into that thing. The human fleet focused their quantum disruptors on a single point. The creature's form began to collapse. It tried to escape back into dimensional space, but the anchors held it in place. With a final psychic scream that echoed across light years. The creature imploded. Its mass compressed down to a single point and then vanished in a flash of radiation across every spectrum. The human fleet held position for several minutes, scanning the area. Nothing remained. No energy signature. No dimensional disturbance. Target destroyed? Admiral Grant reported. Fleet status: 1 ship lost, 4 damaged, minor casualties across remaining vessels. In the command center on Earth, President Okafor allowed herself a moment of relief. Then she looked at the larger tactical display, and her expression hardened. "That was only one of them," Webb said quietly. "Our long-range sensors have detected at least 20 more similar signatures approaching from beyond the galactic rim." 20? Torres stared at the data in horror. "We barely survived fighting one." "We will not be fighting them alone," Okafor said. She opened a communication channel to the entire galaxy. Not just the Council, but every species, every colony, every outpost. Her message was simple and direct. "This is President Sarah. Okafor of Earth. Humanity has just engaged and destroyed an extra-dimensional entity at the edge of our space. We have confirmed at least 20 more are approaching the galaxy. The threat is real. The danger is immediate. We are transmitting all our tactical data, our technology specifications, and our battle analysis to every species that wants it, free of charge. No conditions." She paused to let that sink in. "The Galactic Council chose to hide this threat. Humanity chooses to face it together. Any species that wants to survive should meet us at the following coordinates in 72 hours. We will share everything we know and plan our defense as equals. The old ways are over. Either we stand together or we fall separately." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings heard her words. The Council tried to condemn the message as human interference, but their words rang hollow after decades of lies. And in the darkness beyond the stars, 19 more creatures stirred and began their journey toward the light. The meeting point humanity chose was a neutral system called Haven. It had once been a Council trading hub, but was now abandoned after the attacks began. 3 days after President Okafor's message, ships started arriving. The first to appear were the Venthari. Kilos, the merchant who had received a data chip from this human friend, commanded a small fleet of civilian vessels that had been hastily armed. He broadcast a simple message as he arrived. "The Venthari people stand with humanity. Our government still debates in council chambers, but we do not have time for debates. We are here to fight." More ships arrived. The Pelzari brought their science vessels filled with researchers. The next coalition sent their defensive fleet. Even some private ships appeared, though they positioned themselves far from the human vessels and maintained radio silence within 24 hours. Over 400 ships from 17 different species filled the Haven system. It was nowhere near the size of the official Council fleet, but these ships came willingly. Their crews had chosen to be here. Ambassador Webb stood on the observation deck of the human flagship Unity, looking out at the gathered fleet. Beside him stood Admiral Grant, still recovering from the battle that had destroyed one of her ships. "I did not think so many would come," Grant admitted. "Fear is a powerful motivator," Webb replied. "But so is hope. For decades, the Council told these species that safety came from following rules and maintaining order. We are showing them another way. That safety comes from preparation and cooperation." A communication request came through. It was from the flagship of the Luminari contingent. Luminara herself appeared on the screen. "Ambassador Webb, I have brought 30 ships and my full support, but I must warn you, the Council has declared this gathering illegal. They are sending a fleet to disperse us." Webb smiled slightly. "Let them come. We are not doing anything wrong. We are simply sharing information. The Council sees it as sedition. They believe you are trying to create a rival government. We are not creating anything. We are responding to a threat the Council refuses to acknowledge. If they see that as sedition, perhaps they need to examine their own priorities." 6 hours later, the Council fleet arrived. 200 warships commanded by High Arbiter Velmuth himself. The massive vessels formed a battle line facing the gathered alliance. Velmuth's transmission was cold and formal. "This assembly is illegal under Council law. All vessels are ordered to disperse immediately and return to their home systems. Any ship that refuses will be considered in rebellion and dealt with accordingly." President Okafor responded from Earth. Her face appeared on every ship's screen, both in the Alliance fleet and in the Council armada. High Arbiter, we are not your subjects anymore. Humanity left the Council legally. These other species have come here of their own free will. You have no authority to command them. They are Council members and they will obey Council law. Or what? Okafor challenged. You will fire on them? Destroy ships that are trying to defend the galaxy? Go ahead. Show everyone watching what the Council has become. Velmuth hesitated. He knew thousands of civilian communication networks were broadcasting this confrontation. If he attacked, the Council would lose whatever remaining trust they still had. Into the tense silence, a new voice spoke. General Thorax of the Kravat Dominion. High Arbiter. I respectfully request permission to address the Council. This is not the time. General. With respect, sir, I believe it is exactly the time. Thorax's voice was firm. I have been thinking about what Ambassador Webb showed us in the tribunal. The sealed files. The hidden preparations. I have reviewed our own intelligence reports. Everything the humans said was true. General, you're out of line. Perhaps? But I am also tired of being lied to. Thorax broadcast on an open channel so everyone could hear. The Council knew this threat existed. They built defenses in secret while telling us we did not need weapons. They let colonies die rather than admit they were wrong. I joined the Council to protect my people. But the Council is not protecting anyone anymore. Thorax's flagship broke formation with the Council fleet. It moved to join the Alliance. I am Kravat. We are warriors. And warriors do not hide from battle. My fleet stands with humanity. 18 more Kravat vessels followed their general. It was a third of the total Kravat forces. The Council fleet suddenly looked much smaller. Velmuth watched his armada fracture. Other ships began to hesitate. Crews were communicating with each other, questioning their orders. This is treason, Velmuth shouted. All ships that abandon the Council will be hunted down. No, another voice said. It was Elder Bright of the Luminari, speaking from the Council homeworld. This is reality. High Arbiter Velmuth, you are relieved of command. The Council is being dissolved. A new government will be formed. One based on truth instead of comfortable lies. Velmuth's screen went dark. His own people had removed him from power. The Council fleet received new orders to stand down. Most did. A few ships loyal to the old ways tried to flee and were allowed to go. The crisis was over. The Alliance had won without firing a shot. President Okafor addressed the gathered fleet. We do not have time to celebrate. 19 more entities are approaching. They will arrive in waves over the next 40 days. Our victory here means nothing if we cannot stop what is coming. Admiral Grant took over the briefing. Holographic displays appeared showing the battle data from humanity's first encounter. The entity we destroyed was incredibly powerful, but it had weaknesses. It required constant connection to dimensional space. When we forced it fully into our reality, it became vulnerable. We used quantum disruptors to destabilize its molecular structure, but it took our entire fleet to bring down one creature. We cannot build enough disruptors to fight 20. Then what do we do? Kilos asked. We get creative, Grant said. Humanity has the weapons technology, but we need ships. We need coordination. And we need knowledge. Some of you have been studying dimensional physics for thousands of years. We need that expertise. The Pelzari chief scientist stepped forward. His name was Rintax and his species looked like walking crystals. My people have theoretical models for dimensional manipulation. We never built weapons with it because the Council forbade such research. But if we combine our knowledge with your technology... Exactly, Grant agreed. We are not asking anyone to submit to human authority. We are asking you to contribute what you can. This will be a true cooperation. The fleet divided into working groups. Scientists shared research. Engineers examined ship designs. Military strategists planned battle formations. For the first time in galactic history, different species worked together without a central government forcing them to cooperate. The progress was remarkable. Within 5 days, the first hybrid ships were ready. Then 3 vessels equipped with human disruptors. Pelzari science ships carrying Kravitz shields. Luminari energy beings learned to directly interface with human AI networks. General Thorax worked alongside Admiral Grant, their species having been enemies just weeks ago. They studied tactical displays and argued about formations, but it was the argument of professionals seeking the best solution. Your ships are fast but lightly armored, Thorax observed. My Kravitz vessels are the opposite. If we coordinate, humans can harass the entities while my heavy ships anchor the defense. Agreed. But we need flexibility. These things adapt quickly. Any tactic we use will only work once or twice. Then we prepare multiple tactics and switch between them. The collaboration spread beyond the fleet. On Earth, human factories worked with alien contractors to build more disruptors. On the Luminari homeworld, energy beings taught humans how to sense dimensional disturbances before they occurred. The Pelzari shared thousands of years of theoretical physics. It was not perfect. Species that had mistrusted each other for centuries did not become friends overnight. Arguments broke out. Cultural misunderstandings caused problems. Some groups refused to work together. But slowly, steadily, the alliance became stronger. President Okafor met regularly with the new Council of Species. A loose organization that had replaced the old rigid government. It had no supreme authority. Decisions were made by consensus. Each species maintained their independence but agreed to coordinate defense. This is chaos, complained Representative Bixel of the next coalition. The old council had clear hierarchies and procedures. The old council is what got us into this situation, Okafor reminded him. Yes, this is messy. Democracy usually is. But at least no one is hiding information or making decisions in secret. What happens after the crisis? Luminara asked. If we survive, what becomes of this alliance? That is for all of us to decide together, Okafor said. Humanity does not want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be treated as equals. You could rule if you wanted, Elder Bright admitted grudgingly. You have the weapons, the technology. Many species would follow you. Power taken by force is not real power, Webb interjected. It is just violence waiting to collapse. Real strength comes from willing cooperation. Before anyone could respond, alarms sounded across every ship. The sensors had detected something. Torres appeared on the communication screen, his face pale. Contact. Multiple signatures emerging from dimensional space. Count is 7. I repeat, 7 entities incoming. They will reach the Haven system in 3 hours. 7, not 1 this time. The creatures had learned. They were attacking together. The Alliance fleet scrambled to battle positions. Every ship that had weapons powered them up. Scientists rechecked their equations. Soldiers said quiet prayers to whatever gods they believed in. President Okafor broadcast to the entire fleet. This is it. Everything we have prepared for comes down to the next few hours. I will not lie to you. Some of us will die today. These things are powerful, and we have never fought more than one at a time. But we are not alone. Look around you. 17 species, 400 ships, billions of beings across the galaxy supporting us. We are stronger together than any of us could be apart. She paused, then smiled. Besides, we are fighting for our homes, our families, our future. And there is no force in the universe more dangerous than people defending what they love. So let us show these ancient horrors what happens when the galaxy stands united. The fleet erupted in cheers. Every species in their own language, but the message was the same. Defiance, determination, hope. 3 hours later, the entities arrived. 7 massive tiers in reality. 7 creatures of living darkness that had destroyed everything they encountered, but this time they faced something new. Not a panicked fleet running away. Not scattered ships trying to fight alone. They faced an alliance that had prepared, that had planned, that had learned. The Battle of Haven began, and the galaxy held its breath. 7 tiers opened in space simultaneously. The entities emerged like nightmares made real. Each one was as large as the creature humanity had barely defeated before. Together they filled the sensors with impossible readings. Admiral Grunt stood on the bridge of the Unity, watching the tactical display. Her crew was silent, professional, but she could feel their fear. She felt it too. All ships maintain formation. Wait for my signal. The Alliance fleet had been organized into 4 battle groups. The humans and Venthari formed the fast attack wings on the flanks. The Kravet heavy cruisers anchored the center. The Luminari and Pelzari science vessels stayed in the rear, providing sensor data and shield support. 400 ships against 7 godlike entities. The odds were not good. The entities moved forward together. They had learned coordination. Their tendrils lashed out, testing the fleet's defenses. 2 Venthari scouts took hits and their shields failed instantly. The ships began to disintegrate. Evacuate those vessels, Grant ordered. Fast attack wings, begin harassment pattern Delta. Human and Venthari ships darted forward in groups of 5. They did not try to destroy the entities. Instead, they fired their dimensional anchors, the devices that forced the creatures fully into normal space. Each anchor only worked for a few seconds before burning out, but seconds were enough. When an entity was anchored, the heavier ships fired quantum disruptors. The exotic weapons tore at the creature's form, causing damage. Not much, but it was something. The entities responded by splitting their attention. One focused on the fast attack wings. Its tendrils moved with terrible speed, destroying 3 human ships in quick succession. But while it was distracted, the other battle groups concentrated fire on a different entity. "This is working," General Thorax reported from his flagship Warbringer. "We damage them when they focus on one target. We must keep them divided." "Agreed," Grant replied. "All groups, pick your targets and rotate. Do not let them gang up on any single formation." The battle became a deadly dance. The Alliance ships moved in coordinated patterns, each group attacking a different entity. When one creature turned to retaliate, the ships scattered and another group would attack from a new angle, but the entities were adapting. They began to move in pairs, protecting each other. When Alliance ships attacked one, its partner would strike from an unexpected direction. The Pelzari science vessel Crystalline broke apart under a concentrated assault. 200 researchers died instantly. A Kravet heavy cruiser took critical damage and began venting atmosphere. "We are losing ships faster than we can replace them," Torres reported from Earth. "At this rate, the fleet will be combat ineffective in 40 minutes. President Okafor watched the battle from the command center, feeling helpless. They had prepared for this, planned every scenario. But 7 entities working together was beyond their worst projections. On the Unity, a young human officer named Rachel Kim was monitoring the sensor data. She noticed something strange. The entities were not moving randomly. Their attacks followed a pattern. They were communicating with each other somehow. "Admiral, I think they are linked. Some kind of shared consciousness or network. When one learns something, they all learn it." Grant understood immediately. So, if they are sharing information, they might be sharing vulnerabilities too. If we could disrupt that network, Luminara's voice came over the communication channel. "I may have a solution. My people exist as energy patterns. We can sense the connection between the entities. It is like a web of dimensional threads. If we could sever those threads ... Can you do it?" Grant asked. "Alone, no. But if we combine our abilities with your technology, perhaps." "We would need time. Time is the one thing we do not have." "Then we must make time," General Thorax said. "All Kravet vessels form defensive wall formation. We will hold the center while the others work." The Kravet ships moved into a tight formation, overlapping their shields. They were the toughest vessels in the fleet, built to absorb punishment. The entities turned their full attention on this new target. The Kravet shields flared bright under the assault. Tendrils of darkness battered against energy barriers. The shields held, but warning lights appeared across every Kravet bridge as power levels dropped. "Hull integrity at 70% and falling. Thorax's first officer reported. We cannot maintain this for long. We do not need long. Only long enough. Behind the Crumbled wall, the Luminari science vessels worked frantically. Luminara and her people projected their consciousness into the dimensional space between the entities. They could see the network, threads of impossible energy connecting the 7 creatures. Human technicians interfaced the Luminari observations with quantum disruptor technology. If they could tune the disruptors to the right frequency, they might be able to cut those threads. We are ready to test, Luminara reported. But we only have enough power for one attempt. If this fails, we will have no second chance. President Okafor made the decision without hesitation. Do it, the modified disruptors fired. Not at the entities themselves, but at the space between them. The beams were invisible to normal sensors, but the Luminari could see them cutting through dimensional space like blades. One thread severed. Then another. The entities suddenly jerked as if in pain. Their coordinated movements became chaotic. They were no longer sharing information instantly. It worked. Rachel Kim shouted. The network is disrupted. All ships, now's our chance. Admiral Grant commanded. Focus all fire on the nearest entity. Destroy it before they can reconnect. Every ship in the Alliance fleet turned their weapons on a single creature. Hundreds of quantum disruptors fired simultaneously. Dimensional anchors locked it in place. The entity thrashed and screamed, but it could not escape. The damage accumulated. The creature's form began to break apart. With a final psychic shriek, it imploded and vanished. 6 entities remained. And they were angry. The creatures abandoned all strategy and attacked with pure rage. They did not care about taking damage anymore. They only wanted to destroy. A Venthari battle group was caught in a concentrated assault. 8 ships vanished in seconds. The Luminari vessel Radiance exploded when its containment fields failed. Dozens more ships took critical damage, but the Alliance fleet did not break. Crews that had never fought together before worked in perfect synchronization. Human AI networks coordinated targeting data. Crumbled warriors held the line even as their ships burned around them. Luminari sacrificed themselves to maintain the shield harmonics that protected other vessels. Second entity locked? Torres reported. Concentrate fire. The fleet destroyed another creature. Then a third. But each victory came at terrible cost. The battle had been raging for 2 hours and the Alliance had lost over 100 ships. 4 entities remained. The Alliance fleet was down to less than 300 combat-effective vessels on the Warbringer. General Thorax received a damage report that made his blood run cold. Engineering reports core containment failing. We have maybe 10 minutes before we have to evacuate. His first officer looked at him. We could ram one of the entities. Our mass and speed combined with the explosion might. Thorax considered it. A suicide attack. Glorious by Kravitz standards. But he thought about Webb's words. About fighting smart instead of just fighting hard. No, we are worth more alive. He opened a channel to the fleet. This is Thorax. The Warbringer is critically damaged. We are transferring command authority to the Unity and evacuating. I'm sorry we cannot fight longer. You have fought with honor, General, Grant replied. Your sacrifice is noted. All ships cover the Warbringer's evacuation. The massive Kravitz ship launched its escape pods while the rest of the fleet provided cover fire. The entities tried to pursue, but the Alliance ships formed a protective screen when the last pod was away. The Warbringer's automated systems set a collision course with the nearest entity. The ship's speed increased. Just before impact, its fusion core destabilized. The explosion was like a new star being born. The entity caught in the blast was torn apart by raw nuclear fire, combined with exotic particles from the damaged quantum systems. It died screaming. 3 entities left. 273 Alliance ships still fighting. President Okafor addressed the fleet one more time. We have fought for 3 hours. We have lost friends, comrades, and heroes. The beings we fight seem unstoppable. But I want you to remember something. These creatures have existed for millions of years. They have destroyed countless civilizations. They thought the galaxy would fall easily. She smiled fiercely. They were wrong, because they never faced a galaxy that stood together. They never encountered species that would sacrifice everything to protect each other. They never met humanity's stubbornness or Kravic courage or Luminary wisdom or Venthari determination. They are ancient and powerful. But we are united. And that makes us stronger. The fleet rallied. Damaged ships that could still fight moved back into formation. Fresh attack runs began. The three remaining entities were worn down by waves of coordinated assaults. Admiral Grant noticed something on her sensors. The entities are trying to retreat. They are moving toward dimensional space. Do not let them escape, Luminara urged. If they return with reinforcements, we will not survive. All anchor ships maximum power. Lock them in our reality. Every ship with dimensional anchors fired. The combined effect created a cage that prevented the entities from phasing out. They were trapped. The final battle was brutal. The entities fought with the desperation of beings facing extinction for the first time in their existence. But the Alliance had learned their patterns, adapted to their tactics. And most importantly, they fought for something the entities could never understand. They fought for each other. The last three entities fell, within minutes of each other. As the final creature imploded, every sensor across the fleet confirmed the same thing. No more dimensional signatures. No more contacts. The battle was over. Silence filled the communication channels. Then someone started cheering. The sound spread from ship to ship, species to species. Humans and Cravat, Luminari and Venthari, all celebrating together. Admiral Grant slumped in her command chair, exhausted. Status report. The numbers were sobering. 147 ships destroyed. Over 30,000 dead. Another 50 ships damaged beyond immediate repair, but they had one, General Thorax. Now, aboard a rescue ship, contacted the Unity. Admiral Grant? On behalf of the Krava people, I thank you for covering our evacuation. We are in your debt. No debt, General. That is what allies do. President Okafor broadcasts to the fleet and to every world across the galaxy. Today we proved something that the old council forgot. That cooperation is stronger than control. That diversity is strength, not weakness. That when we stand together, nothing can break us. She looked at Webb, who stood beside her in the command center. He nodded. Humanity did not abandon the galaxy. We abandoned the system that was failing us all. And in doing so, we found something better. Not a council that rules, but an alliance that serves. Not a government that hides truth, but a partnership based on honesty. This is not the end. This is a beginning. Across the galaxy, the message resonated. Species that had remained neutral during the battle began to reach out. Former council members requested to join the alliance. Even some of the old council leadership, humbled by their failures, asked to participate in building something new. The battle had been won. But more importantly, something had changed. The galaxy had been fractured for so long, divided into rulers and subjects, powerful and weak, old and young. Now it was unified. Not perfectly, not completely, but more than it had ever been before. On Earth, Marcus Webb stood looking at the stars through the command center windows. President Okafor joined him. Do you think they are gone? She asked. The entities? Are there more? Probably, Webb admitted. The universe is vast, but now we know how to fight them. And more importantly, we know we can win when we work together. The old council called us warmongers. Said we were dangerous? Webb smiled. They were right. We are dangerous. But not because we love war. Because we refuse to accept defeat. Because we will do whatever it takes to protect our people. And now, to protect our allies? Okafor nodded. Humanity crumbled the old council. But we also helped build something better in its place. Not just humanity, Webb corrected. All of us, together. In the Haven system, the battered Alliance fleet began the long process of recovery. Ships helped each other with repairs. Medical teams treated wounded regardless of species. Memorial services honored the dead in a dozen different traditions. And in the conference room of the Unity, representatives from 23 species gathered to discuss the future. There were no accusations now, no hierarchies, just equals trying to solve problems together. The galaxy had crumbled under the weight of old fears and hidden truths. But from those ruins, something new was rising. An alliance based not on control but on cooperation. Not on secrets but on shared knowledge. Not on submission but on mutual respect. It would not be easy. Old hatreds would not vanish overnight. Different cultures would continue to clash. New threats would emerge, but for the first time in 8,000 years, the galaxy faced the future united. And that made all the difference.